Level up your LA Kings experience with Vivid Seats Elite Seats. All the on-ice Kings action with even more exclusive access and rewards. Enjoy great seats to the game in Section 103 along with Yamava Club access and parking included with your purchase. Plus, get a free Team LA Kings shop item at the game. Score your Vivid Seats Elite Seats tickets today and earn perks on each purchase from the only leading ticket company with a rewards program. Experience it live with Vivid Seats, the official partner of the LA Kings. Do you know the LA Kings have their own culinary partner? It's Superfood, celebrating 10 years and over 1 million meals served. Since 2020, the Kings have trusted Superfood to fuel their players. Now through Simply Lunch, you can bring that same performance-driven food to your office. Because when people eat better, they work better. Visit mysuperfood.com. That's mysuperfd.com. Or call 213-973-6145. Qualified companies can enjoy a free lunch for up to 10 managers.
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings. Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
Welcome back, Kings fans. This is another episode of All the Kings Men. Joining me today, Zach Dooley. How are you doing today, Zach?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. For those who don't know, we're recording this immediately following the Ken Holland press conference where I asked the question, and in the middle of asking that question, my throat decided to try and leave my body. So hopefully
Here's to hoping we got a clear runway.
We had done recaps of games 1, 2, and 3 in the playoffs. We didn't do game 4, obviously, because they lost. So I thought we'd start this episode by just kind of putting a bow on the playoff series. We don't need to go too deep into game 4. Everybody knows what happened. But they were swept by Colorado. I know the expectation across the hockey world was that Colorado would win.
Yeah.
They did. Does it matter to you that if you wanted to pick silver linings from the series, as many players and management members have done, does it matter to you particularly that there were they didn't lose as badly as they could have? Does that matter?
My opinion, no. If this was 2022, I would say yes. If that team, we remember that team, which was the power of friendship, as you put it, first time in
7 games without
0
Doughty
expectations. If that team lost in 4, but they lost 2-1, they were that competitive, I would say, yeah, I think it does. I think it's different here because the expectations have changed that were publicly set. I do think that the Kings played way more competitively in the series than 4-0 down. I feel like most would probably agree with that. Like they were there, they were around it, they were whatever in 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, they lost to a better team. The Kings were a decent to good team that lost to a championship contending team. And that, I think, was the moral of the story. The Kings played the series, I thought, tighter than I thought. I thought the Kings would win more than 0 games. But I thought they would lose 1 game by at least 4 goals. Like I thought they'd get stomped once.
At least one.
Sure. But that wasn't a 5-1 game, right? Like that was a But you know what I mean.
So there were a lot of comparisons to the Vegas series in 2018.
Yeah.
Where if I remember correctly, the Kings scored 3 goals and Vegas scored 7.
I think they gave up 7 and lost in 4, right? Yeah.
And they lost in 4. And the only reason I don't like that comparison, and I've mentioned this before when talking about the series against the Devils and the series against the Rangers, to me, when you judge a series, the series can be as close as you want it to be. The question is, where are the blowouts?
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, in the New Jersey Devils series, you go, okay, it was 4-2. 2 games went to overtime, or 4 games went to overtime. Maybe I don't remember,
crazy.
but there were like 3 or 4 games that were very close.
Mm-hmm.
But the 2 games that were decisive, the Kings won 3-0 and 6-1.
Yeah.
And so you just go, all right, well, I don't care how close the rest of it was.
Fair.
When it mattered, the Kings blew the Devils out of the water, and that's that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the first 3 games were close, yes, but then that 4th game, and Ken Holland referenced it today, he said they tried to open it up when they were down 2-0. My takeaway from it is, okay, they played their best, and the best they could do was close.
Yeah.
And then when it mattered, they did. It was 5-1, and it wasn't a 5-1 game. I agree, but that was the final score. So
that was kind of how I wrote it too when I talked about the series. Was like the Kings did all these things that I think we would agree were like, okay, that's pretty good, but they did that to lose by 1.
Right.
And I think it's just the disparity between the 2 teams. Like Colorado, you talk about teams in a contending window. That's one of, I'd have to look through it, I don't know, 5 to 8 teams that is a true cup contender. Kings are not in that position right now. And that was just the difference. Like usually I think when you have games like that are close and competitive, the team that is just a better team usually wins those games. And that's what happened in that series.
You and I both speak The Office as a second language.
Sure.
But I don't know how familiar you are with the MCU. There's a scene in Avengers Infinity War where a number of characters are all fighting one character. And it's this incredible, long, drawn-out scene. And at the end of it, they wind up getting a cut on the guy. And he says, all that for a drop of blood.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt about I think I wrote it in my notes for one of the games. I don't remember. That's kind of how I felt about the Colorado series. Like, yeah, there was some impressive stuff in there.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, all that for a drop of blood.
And that's it's exactly what it is. I mean, it's hard. It's like you can evaluate a series, whether it's like, okay, they lost in 4, or there were 4 games that were competitive. They lost in 4.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how you shake it, like, I thought that the Kings did things that were better than I thought that they would in the series, but ultimately you lose in 4 games to a team that's in a different class than you. I mean, it is what it is, and that's what we saw.
Yeah, unfortunately, the series are scored based on wins
and losses,
not total goals. So, all right, so then we're going to move on to the player exit interviews, which were conducted earlier this week. You and I were both there. Full disclosure, I had to step out of the room for Brant Clark, Edmondson, and I want to say Brian Dumoulin.
No, you missed the 3 most.
So I wasn't there for all of them, but I was there for most of them. Andrzej Kopitar did not speak to the media. Obviously, he's spoken to the media plenty, and he's not coming back next year. So what else is there to say? There were, I think, 3 different players were asked about potentially being the captain next year.
Yeah.
Kempe, Anderson, and Doughty.
Yep.
Doughty was the only one who publicly advocated for it.
Yep.
Anderson and Kempe were both, I thought, gave the right answer.
The diplomatic answer.
Yeah, which is we'll see what happens, but leadership group and blah, blah, blah. Doughty said he would love, or maybe he didn't say, I think he said it would be an honor.
I think he said it would be an honor and gave an answer of when I was younger, I wouldn't have cared. Now, as I've been a leader here, it would mean something to me. But also, I think with a contingency of it doesn't make sense for a captain to have 1 year left on on a contract.
So he's eligible for an extension July 1st, and that was raised today in the availability with Ken Holland. There were a lot of, and I don't actually mind this because I don't expect a lot of answers in these things. There was a lot of I don't knows, which I think is the right answer for a lot of those questions.
So Drew's was the player interview that stood out to me the most because 3 times he said, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the last player who I would expect to say, I don't know. Because love it or hate it about Drew Doughty, he is honest. He speaks his mind. He tells you what he thinks. You might think it's exactly correct. You might think it's delusional, but he'll say it with his full chest. He doesn't hold back. And for the first time after something, he didn't have the answer.
Yeah.
And that was telling to me, along with, his own one, he said he didn't think his play was where it needed to be this year. And 2, he said there has been no conversation thus far about a contract extension or about his future.
Yeah. The only on the record stuff we have from anybody about Drew Doughty's future is him repeatedly saying this season that he'd like to play till he can't anymore. I can't remember the exact words he used a few months ago, but the gist of it was you'd have to drag him off the ice.
Pretty much, yeah.
And, this time I think he said he wanted to finish his career in LA. So we know from his side there's strong interest. The captaincy question to me is interesting because I don't know. Captaincies are weird because at some level it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Right? It's an obviously visible identifier to the fans.
Yep.
There are rules baked into the game. For those of you who don't know, there's a referee circle at the side of the ice. Only captains are alternates and captains are allowed to talk to the refs. And so there are sort of, I'm trying to blank on the word, but pageantry. There's decorum that goes into being the captain. But we've heard so much about leadership groups and the room and everything, and obviously it takes a village and blah, blah, blah. So at some level it doesn't matter. And yet I think it might, and I'm not sure. I don't think now's the right time for management to dictate that kind of thing.
Agreed.
So if the Kings go into training camp next year without a captain named, but come out of training camp with a captain named, that would not surprise me. Let the players, let the room say, okay, Andrzej Kopitar, who is, I believe, the longest tenured captain in Kings history, 20-year career, blah, blah, blah. I think it was 11 seasons. okay, those are big shoes to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you, management, come tell the room,
Yeah.
okay, this is the next guy. Like, let the room.
Yeah.
And so the questions had to be asked,
Yep.
but I don't expect we'll get an answer till September.
And there doesn't have to be an answer, too. Like, we
Yep.
could go into a season where Doughty, Kempe, and Anderson are all back and all wearing an A on the first game of the year, and that could be that. Those are the only 3 internal candidates that I would think, right? Like,
those are
they're the guys with the
asked.
A's, and I asked all 3 because those are the 3 that I thought.
Unless, and this is going to be the biggest unless all season long, summer long.
Yeah.
Unless something crazy happens.
Internal candidates.
Yes.
Like,
right, yeah.
If the Kings acquire Connor McDavid, you never know, right?
Right, yeah.
Internal candidates,
Right.
I'm looking at. There's pros and cons to each, and there's also not an answer. One thing I've always found interesting is like, and you touched on it, is like, we don't know who the best leader on the team is because we're not in the room.
Right.
We hear what people say about each other. We hear about, people speaking about their own leadership, but like, we don't know who the biggest mover and shaker in the LA Kings locker room is. We just don't know.
Yeah.
We're not in there. And I could think, well, Mikey Anderson should be the captain of the team, but like, I don't know what his impact in the room truly is. I know what I think it is. I know how he speaks. I know what people say about him. I don't know. Same could be said for Drew or for Juice. Like, we just don't know who is the captain of the room, if that is a thing with Kopi retiring.
And just as a point of example, in 2000, let's just go back to the Cup years, because why not? In those years, Matt Green wore a letter.
I've heard enough about Matt Green to know that
he's a third pair defenseman.
Correct.
And never was anything more. And there was no illusion.
He wasn't the captain, but like, clearly that guy had immense influence, right?
And Jarrett Stoll was a third line center.
Yeah.
And you and I, talking to the players and talking to management, when it comes time for the Cup anniversary, like even 10 years, 14 years later, they're still the guys with everybody's phone number gathering.
Yeah.
So it's like, leadership is a weird thing and you never know. And so who knows? And obviously, hopefully, whoever the captain is, the leadership group will be capable of leading.
Some teams, it's your best player with the longest term deal, like that's your captain. But then you have a Matt Green. Like, I've heard enough about Matt Green to know that he was massively influential on that team. They're still talking about this guy, and he hasn't played here in 10 years. So that's all you need to know.
Yeah. But again, it's not, I mean, and I, when I was a kid, I was like, oh yeah, Wayne Gretzky, of course he's the captain. He's the best player. And like, you watch a team and you go, oh, the best player is the best player, so he's the captain. But that's not how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
Sometimes
that Ajay Kopitar was the captain for 11 years. And he was the best player.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess the other big takeaways from the exit interviews was just question about contracts. I wasn't there for Brant Clark's, but I understand that he said he'd like to stay and be a part of the core. And
I thought if Drew was my most, Brant Clark probably second. Okay. He gave 2 reasons for me as to why. Number one, I think actually 3. One was a very impassioned, I love being in LA and really want to stay here. Number 2 was an open and honest discussion about, he was asked essentially, like, do you think it's time for you to be the number 1 defenseman? Essentially was the question. He said, I don't know if it's time because I don't think it works that way, but yes, like, I want more. I think I've grown immensely defensively. I think my game is better. Like, I want those moments. If that's what the team feels, like, I want that. And the third was kind of a leading question of basically like, has the LA Kings style and philosophies held you back? And he said, no. Not at all. He said, actually, since I've been here, everyone I've worked with has encouraged me to play like me. He said the most, I think, of any player that was like, oh, I learned a little bit from listening to you talk. You can say it in media, whatever happens behind the scenes could be different. I don't know. I was just impressed, I thought, with him and what he had to say.
The other contract talk that caught my ear was Scott Lawton.
Totally.
Because when you and I spoke to him, whatever, a month or 2 ago, the question was put to him by you, do you want to stay here? And the answer was kind of like, I just got here.
He was like, yeah, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
then earlier this week when asked, I heard a definitive yes. I don't remember if that's what he said, but that's what I heard.
I think he said strong interest.
Yeah.
I think the Kings would certainly be... And I don't know if you saw the interview he gave it was after the Toronto game, because obviously he played there before. I think it was on like TSN radio, where he was just like, the way that the Kings have treated me and my family has been so good that it probably turned an I don't know into like a probably or a yeah. Like he would be interested in staying. Obviously, the number has to work, right? Like,
and the reason I can't imagine the number being a huge ask from him.
Probably not. It's more like, hey, if you can get 5 on the open market and 3 from the Kings, I don't know those numbers, but like you go to market.
Yes, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I can't imagine the gap between market and what the Kings are willing. Like, he's a third line center. He's not going to get $15 million a year. So like, just if you want him and he wants to stay, like, bam. Anyway. So then that brings us to the Ken Holland availability today, and there were some pointed questions of Ken Holland. We got some repeats of old answers. The question that I don't think we'll ever really get the answer to, and maybe we're not meant to, or maybe it's none of our business, but a number of times Ken Holland essentially said to the media, we just see it differently. You know, like he was asked, well, why didn't you fire Jim Miller faster? Or why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? Or whatever. And the answer was from him is essentially, we have different philosophies. I understand what you're saying. I see it this way. You see it that way. I'm the general manager. I'm editorializing this part. Neener, boo boo. You're not. He wasn't.
I don't think he was.
No, he was. I thought he was actually really nice.
Pretty cordial.
To some people who were attempting to be pretty hostile with him. And so that sort of leaves it then to the viewer. Like, do you side with management or do you agree with the people who think that they're doing the wrong thing? And that's sports.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a team that had 105 points and that team gets 90 the next year, when you have a team that was on the verge of winning a playoff series to one that as we talked about, wasn't all that close. Those questions come about. And they're just, and they have to be asked. They certainly should be. There were probably, as we talked about before, there were more that could have been asked that even weren't in that format. And it's just the nature of that job is when you don't meet expectations that you set, things, there's reasons as to why, and those need to be asked about and addressed.
And it's funny because the format, and I've said this before in different settings, and I'm sure there's some people who are tired of me saying it. I don't think the format really lends itself to interesting answers.
It makes it harder.
Yeah, and same with the players too, right? Like Drew Doughty was asked, well, what do you do to get better? And his answer was like, well, I don't know. Well, that I don't know. There's a half a dozen ways to approach that, but what happens is the next question comes in, totally different subject, and now we're off. And so Ken Holland was asked a number of questions where the answer could have led directly into it. I'll just give a brief example. And at one point in his answer, I don't even remember the question. At one point, he talked about the need for the team to get more scoring from the blue line, and the shortcomings of the blue line. And I felt that the appropriate follow-up question in that moment would have been, how would you evaluate the job you did in changing the blue line this season, right? Instead, we got a totally different question in a totally different area, and then I think it was Dennis did wind up steering the conversation back to Cody Ceci. But even then, that question felt crowbarred in because now we were talking about something totally differently. So the flow of conversation and the exchange of ideas and pushing and questioning is out the window, and we just sort of get a scatter shot. Well, what about this? And then he gives a very long answer. And then, well, what about that? And at some point, you want to go like, you want to jump in, but that's and then it's just 20 of us yelling at one guy.
I got some of the sense from him that he has identified things that he thinks are wrong with the team.
I was a bit shocked to hear him say that.
I thought that he did identify, like we do need to change some things, but he was either not, and maybe this is strategic. You don't play your cards, right? So it might be, he is working on some things and didn't want to reveal them. Or maybe he doesn't have the solutions for them yet. Maybe those solutions aren't here. Maybe he needs to trade for them or assign them or whatever it is. There was, I thought, a little more of an acknowledgement of things that were wrong than we've seen in the past. Mentioning the goals scored probably 5 to 10 times.
A lot.
It wasn't. There was more talk of the goals that weren't scored than there were of the goals that were prevented, and that is a change that we've seen. So, He acknowledged the defensive stuff, but it wasn't just like, no, we're so good defensively, we just have to get even better defensively. It was, no, we need to score some more goals.
Yeah, we're not good at offense.
Now, last year, the Kings doubled down on the defensive side with the moves that they made, and it didn't work. So we have to see. I guess that was one thing I took away was like, okay, there is an acknowledgement that this team has to score more goals. How do they do that? I don't know. Do they play differently? Do they acquire different players? Is it a mentality, a philosophy? I don't know. But it was brought up. We all
yeah, and the moment that sort of caught me off guard was, and I think it was right after he was asked about the defense.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I'm not going to throw guys onto the bus. It's not my style. I don't think it's productive. However, there are guys in that room I don't think played as good as they could have."
Yeah,
and that I don't think we've ever heard.
Yeah,
like we heard from Rob Blake in the past. Okay, collectively as a team, they need to do this or that or whatever. But to without naming names, say there are guys who weren't good enough, and I've talked to them. That I was like, okay.
At least it was an acknowledgement, right? Like it wasn't, okay, we had 18 guys. They all played really great, but we was like, okay, he has identified players who he feels did not meet the expectations that he set for them or that they had played to in the past. He didn't say who they were. We have to respect, right? It's a difference of philosophy. Some GMs might say, no, player A was off. Like he chose not to do that, but it was consistent with everybody. That was certainly one that perked my ear too.
And I will say this, if you happen to be somebody who disagrees with his overall assessment, if you happen to agree with one of the questioners in the in the media availability, that's fine. I think you can comfortably walk away from that press conference not feeling like he stated his case.
Yeah.
I don't think he said anything that was untrue. So you can agree with it or disagree with it, but I don't think he was trying to sugarcoat anything or paper over anything. Like there have been past seasons where the team underperformed and the management came out and angered the fan base by saying, "It's cool.
Yeah.
It's fine. Everything's fine."
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like that's what that was. You may not agree with everything he said, but I didn't feel like I was being asked to accept anything. He said, and he said multiple times he takes the failure personally. Yeah. Which I'm not entirely sure I know what it means, but I was surprised nonetheless.
Yeah. That was the one that maybe contrasted with like didn't maybe feel he made mistakes with that part I was maybe you'd have to get his sense on what exactly that means.
That's why the format is no good.
It's
right?
hard,
he says something and you go, wait, what does that mean? And then you're off to some next thing.
The other part that I thought was good early was the proclamation of a coaching search, saying he already has a list drawn up. It has guys with experience. It has guys without experience. Yeah. He said, I don't want to interview 20 guys. I want to interview about 5 to 8 guys, including DJ Smith, who has earned an interview. I don't think that he is, if he won a round, okay, you might say give the man the job. He got the team in, overcame a 6-point gap, played at about 100-point pace. That gets you in the conversation. That doesn't get you the job outright. So he should be in the mix, but it's encouraging that Ken said, no, we will interview these people. I already have names in mind. So it's not just like, let's get to work. Like he's already got some names and it sounds like as soon as this weekend, he's going to start getting on that. It seems like priority one.
There were a ton of little details like that. So another question asked later was, what about Matt Green and Newell Brown? And the answer was,
Derek Johnson.
And the answer, of course, was, well, it depends on who the head coach is. If it's Smith, we'll see, blah, blah, blah. Another sort of detail snuck in there was, according to, the plan is to keep the first round pick.
Yep.
And I thought his qualification was right on. If I don't think he said Connor McDavid's name, but that's the name that popped into my head was Austin Matthews. But like, if there is some superstar player out there and the first round pick is what it's going to take, well, then
he's going to do it.
Yeah, that's a different conversation. But barring that, it sounds very much like they will keep the first round pick. And he also mentioned the seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to talk to Mark Giannetti at some point if he has any thought about moving down or up or whatever. But it sounds very much to me like they will keep the picks. And so on a day where there were all sorts of wild ranging conversations, there were these little nuggets of like, okay, we're talking about what happened in the past, but the future does need that. They need a new captain. They need a new coach. Yeah. The draft is coming up, free agency. So there was a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
You just have to, had to catch it.
I thought there were a lot of small moments where you go, okay, that's a good piece of information. amidst a lot of what you were talking about of just like longer answers that were, if you agreed with what he was saying, you would just jive with it. And if you didn't, you were probably infuriated.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of the same answer, but then the nuggets of information were completely different each time. And all I felt fairly strong, but it was all these little pieces kind of within a 40-minute press conference.
Yeah.
And if you didn't pick up on a sentence out of a 3-minute answer, you would miss it entirely, but just focus on the general sentiment.
Yeah, which is a shame because, like you said, they're like whatever just happened in the past season, it's over. There's nothing to be done about it. So you go, all right, well, like you said, do you agree with him?
There's
or
not a person, I think, in the world who would say that anyone was happy with what happened. Like it wasn't good enough.
But I mean, he even said in his opening remarks, I believe
he said
that
it wasn't
was the first
good
time
enough.
he said it was. I took it personally. I think that was the first time he mentioned it.
He said, "I'm not happy.
Yeah,
It was disappointing. It wasn't good enough, and I take it personally." Was in the first statement.
But regardless of how one feels about the last 12 months, the
Yeah.
next 12 months will still happen.
Yeah,
And the draft is 2 months away or a month and a half away, whatever. Free agency is coming. Like they're and so I thought it was, the coaching search thing. I thought that was interesting because I assumed, given the 2-day gap between the player interviews and Ken Holland's interview, I thought that we may get a definitive answer about DJ Smith one way or the other. Either he's been promoted to full-time head coach or relieved of his duties. We didn't. We're searching. I mean, I guess theoretically,
I don't know if he has a contract already for next year as an assistant. I don't know his contract status.
Right.
But if he didn't, there's no sense in.
Right.
It would have been disappointing to not see due diligence and a search done. It also would have been disappointing, I think, to just say he's not being considered because I think that the team clearly got better when he took over it. And that at least merits the conversation as to why.
The other interesting detail, and it wasn't a detail, it was just, I wish I knew the answer to this question. Ken Holland, when talking about the other coaches on the list, mentioned that there was some veterans with experience and some that might be assistants, he said, and some that,
maybe it's an AHL
The question was, do you want a young guy or an old guy?
Pretty much, yeah.
And the answer was, on this short list he has, which I think he's, 5 to 8?
5 to 8, he said, yeah.
So obviously DJ Smith has some experience, but I wouldn't say DJ Smith's my age, as he has reminded us a number of different times. I don't want to say DJ Smith is old because that means I'm saying I'm old.
Yeah.
But he has experience in the coaching ranks. So
head coach in Ottawa for 4
and an
years.
assistant for however many years and coached in juniors.
Toronto, a lot of
he's
places.
obviously got experience. So and I would think that next season, whether they do take a step forward or another step back, probably will have a lot to do with who the coach is.
Could. Yeah.
I mean, I would think.
Yeah. You would think?
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know.
Well, that's...
I don't know.
That's this summer. Yes. This is the summer of I don't know, unfortunately. I think that's pretty much it.
The only other thing that, just a small detail, was that Kevin Fiala was a possibility for round 2.
Yeah.
And
he
that
said definitely
was
round
mind-blowing.
3.
I thought if the Kings made game 6 of the Stanley Cup final, maybe Kevin limps out of the tunnel and does the Stamkos thing where he rips a goal and then misses the rest of the year. But I've seen him on the ice. He has looked good, but you assume okay, he's just skating around. The fact that he is that far ahead of schedule with the injury he had was kind of mind-blowing to me that he would have been an option. I thought he was done for the year.
That's funny. The injury report that caught my ear was that Yoel Armia had a hairline fracture in his back.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it wasn't bad enough to stop him from playing. So it wasn't it sounds worse than it is, obviously, because he played. And he said he was a healthy scratch in the playoffs. But nonetheless, it's
a big injury.
Yeah, that's a yikes.
Yeah, obviously,
a yikes from me.
This is, I guess we haven't, but the Byfield injury as well was, I mean, that's a painful thing that I think
I don't think I've ever torn my oblique, but I have certainly had injuries where when you sneeze, it hurts.
It hurts, yes.
And that's tough when you can't even be comfortable in your own body.
Yeah.
Just sneezing or breathing deeply or laughing or
that hurts.
Whatever.
And then this guy's going out and playing, a physical sport for 60 minutes in the playoffs and playing his best hockey of the year. That was
So I mean,
it's pretty crazy.
The summer remains unknown. The Kings have, I want to say, 3 picks in the top 50. If I have that right.
I don't know which. I have to look which
I
pick
think they have
got
like 48 or
transferred.
49 in the
Okay.
third round. But I mean, they have 3 picks in the top 2 rounds.
Yes.
And then a third round pick
Yep.
that's wherever it falls.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 in the top 50 or 4 in the top 50.
Which is substantially more than they've had in, past years.
And I
without
think they have
needing to
9
trade
picks
back.
total as of today. Now they
think
can
that's right.
trade all of them or some of them or whatever. They can move around. They can get more. They can get fewer. Free agency July 1st. Team still needs a head coach. Team still needs a captain. It sounds, again, barring an external addition, Quentin Byfield, number 1 center. That we heard it from the
Certainly
players and from Ken Holland.
Certainly at the moment. I mean,
Yeah.
there aren't
Again,
many
barring
other
an
options.
external, yes, but that's one of those things where like we all know certain things are true,
Yeah.
but until you get confirmation, like
Yeah.
anybody paying close attention to this franchise knew that Andrzej Kopitar was retiring this summer
Yep.
2 years ago.
When he basically said it.
Yeah, when he signed a 2-year contract, his
Mhm.
house was on the market. He said, "When I'm done, I'm going back to Slovenia." Like
Yeah.
there wasn't an actual factual.
Yeah.
This
There
is
was a
happening.
probably.
Until he then had his press conference. This press conference felt very much like, okay, Quentin Byfield's the number 1 center. Now, it's not written in blood.
Yeah.
If Austin Matthews or somebody like that shows up, well, then okay, we'll reevaluate. But it sounded very much to me like that was what it is. So there are a lot of question marks. There's 1 or 2 fewer. And yeah, summer of I don't know. I'm coining it right now.
Summer of I don't know. Yeah, and it's here, right? Like I don't think the Kings want the coaching search to be done on June 15th.
Yep.
So that's the first domino, and then
one final thought, and this actually has nothing to do with the Kings. The Anaheim Ducks defeating the Edmonton Oilers in the first round.
Yeah.
I said prior to the Kings matchup with Colorado, going into the playoffs, I didn't want the results of the playoffs to matter in the evaluation of the Kings.
Okay.
Like even if they went, even if they had snuck in and gotten Edmonton, and beaten Edmonton, and then gone, like I think they were as close to a first overall pick as they were to a Western Conference Final appearance. But I said, like, I don't want the evaluation to be swayed by a great playoff run. I'm fine laughing at Edmonton, just as a bitter person who lost like, ha ha ha, Edmonton, thumbs up from me. Let's wait on evaluating the Ducks. Same as I would have waited on evaluating the Kings. Like the Pacific Division was tough this year, and Ken Holland talked about it and in his presser. And two teams are coming out of the Pacific in the first round.
One might not even be from the Pacific.
Doesn't change the fact that, as Connor McDavid said, it was a pillow fight.
Right.
So, ha ha ha, Edmonton, Schadenfreude, all that. I'm fully on board with all of it.
Yeah.
Let's just, pump our brakes a little bit.
The test for the Ducks, do you remember after the Kings lost in 7 and 22, and then immediately Todd McClellan was not reflecting back? He was like, next year is going to be so much harder for us. We need to be X, Y, and Z. And that's, to me, where the Ducks are.
Yeah.
It's when Washington won a round, and then when New Jersey won a round, and when Vancouver won a round, and when Seattle won a round, all in the last 5 years, that team did not take the step.
And a lot of their guys get new contracts, getting paid more. That changes everything.
I think the Ducks are better equipped than a lot of those teams were. But we got to see, right? You can do it once, but can you do it again and again? And look, Ducks they did the full teardown, right? So they're you don't know what the result is that Ken Holland was talking about. If they can put it together again next year, then they've probably come through it and they've done the right things.
But whoever comes out of the Pacific, like, let's just say we're recording this before the Vegas game tonight.
Yeah.
Let's just say it winds up being Vegas versus Ducks.
Yeah.
And let's just say Vegas beats the Ducks. I still don't want an evaluation of Vegas until they play whoever they're going to play in the Western Conference Final, because the Pacific Division
was a nightmare. It was just such below the standard of the other three.
So we knew going into this, somebody has to come out. Like, that's the format.
Yeah.
So let's wait on crowing. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got.
That is the format.
Yeah, that's
fair.
Format creates the end result. Zach Dooley, thank you for joining me. Kings fans, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.